Jeremy Morgan here. Today we're going to build an application with Angular.js. Angular.js is a JavaScript library that was created by Google and maintained by Google and the open source community. And I won't give you a history lesson about it, but basically it's a JavaScript library with an MVC structure to it. It's pretty awesome. It gives a lot of testability and structure to JavaScript applications. And today we're going to build a JavaScript application with it and kind of show you some of the features and how it works. And here we have our Angular demo page. And if we take a look at it here, this is just a regular HTML page here. It says Angular demo. And what we're going to do is add Angular to this and make it into an actual Angular application. So we'll go over here to the Angular.js website. We'll download that. And now we have a minified stable version of Angular.js straight from the website. I'm not going to do any modifications to that. And we're just going to start building this HTML file out here to turn it into an Angular application. Now one of the first things we need to do right here is add ng app. Now that lets Angular know that this is an Angular application. The entire HTML page will be an application for the purposes of this demo, but you can also select just sections of your HTML. It doesn't have to be the whole page. So it's kind of flexible like that. And we'll add in a reference here to Angular. And one of the things we want to do, Angular uses the model view controller architecture. If you don't know what that is, hit up Wikipedia or Google and check it out. It's an awesome design pattern for applications, and that's what it uses. So one of the first things we need to do is create a controller. And so we're going to do that here with the body tag. We'll call this text controller. Okay, and what this controller is going to do is we're going to change this text here. So what we'll do is put in a placeholder. Now what Angular does is uses your HTML as sort of a template. And so what we'll do is we'll put in text. And now we'll add that controller with some JavaScript. And actually that doesn't need to be capitalized. Now you notice I introduced a variable here that I passed as a parameter, and that is the scope. And what the scope is kind of a global namespace type thing for Angular, and it's pretty awesome, as you'll see later down the line here. And what we're going to do is this controller here is going to be called whenever this page is fired. So what we're going to do in here is we're going to call that scope again. And then we're going to hit the SumText property, which is this here. And as you can see, we've changed that headline to Welcome to Angular. We can change it to anything we want because it's a template set here. And today we're going to build an AdSense calculator. And so that's our first controller here that we've built. Now we'll go on to actually building the calculator. Now what I want to do here is I want to create a calculator where I can input some values. And basically with Google AdSense, they give you real-time values for how much you've made per day and how much you've made per month. And what I want to do with this calculator is take how much I made per day, calculate that out to see what I would make if I made that every day. Like say I make $10 a day, I want to see how that comes out at the end of the month. And we want to do the same thing with how much you've made so far. Like today, say it's the 6th of February, we want to see, based on what I've made in the 6 days, what can I expect to make at the end of the month if that current rate continues. And that's what we're going to do today with this Angular calculator. So one of the first things we'll do here is build a form. And you'll notice the ng controller again. And we'll call this one startup controller. And this form is going to have a couple of inputs. We'll put in our actual count that we made today, and then we'll put in the count that we've made so far this month. So we have today and this month. So in here we'll create an input tag. Call this compute daily. Now what this is going to be the function that's called whenever this changes. That's what ng change means. Obviously it's whenever this input value changes, it's going to run the compute daily. And we're going to use an ng model for this. And we're going to call that model funding. So in order to put an attribute on there, we'll put a property called daily count. So we'll do funding.daily count. And we'll put some breaks in here to kind of space it up a little bit. Sorry, this is a new editor that I've just started working with for the first time here. It's called Brackets. Check it out at brackets.io. It seems to be pretty good so far. There's just a few things I'm trying to get used to with it. For this one, we'll put in one and we'll call this compute monthly. And for this one, we'll use that same funding model. We'll create a property called month count. Let's look at what it looks like so far. Just looks like a standard form, doesn't actually do anything yet. And we're going to have some values that we want to put in here. So let's say based on today, and this will be the value that's displayed based on what we made today. Like I said, if we made $10 a day, what can we expect for our payment? So predicted payment, funding.daily after tax. And this will be another property that we come up with here that's going to be our payment that we should expect after taxes. We'll say and this will be based on our month. We're going to need another break here. For this one, our predicted payment. Funding, we'll call this monthly after tax. Okay, so now we have a general idea of what our form is going to look like, and as you can see, these template placeholders here are not populated yet, but that's what we'll be doing down here. And we're going to add to our existing script tag that we have here, and we're going to create that startup controller. So function, and we're also going to pass scope. So if we could clean this up a little bit here. Okay, and in here you can actually just put in JavaScript. And you can tell that this function has been called as we've loaded it up. And then it populates and goes through, so we can delete that. There's a couple things here that I needed to put in. One of the things I need to do is get the month that we're working with. So we'll just use a date here. And now we need to initialize some of these properties here. And the way we can do that is by using the scope variable, and then funding here is our model. So if you've done any kind of programming before with MVC, a lot of this stuff will look familiar to you. So we have funding.daily count up here. We want to put it down here, set it to 0. We've also got month count. Set that to 0 as well. And then we have our daily after tax. Well, this isn't required, but it's kind of a good practice to set everything to 0 as it starts up and to kind of initialize it. But for the most part, it's not required. Now you may notice something here, that all these variables are being displayed like this. And that's what Angular does when you make a mistake. One of the easiest ways to tell that you have a mistake in your code is that all of these placeholders are displayed like this. Now I didn't do this on purpose, but I actually did this wrong here, which I suspect is why it's coming up that way. Sometimes when working with multiple languages, you get a little confused, as I'm sure many of you know. So this is actually how we're going to initialize these variables, and that fixes the problem. And as you can see, everything is set to 0 here. Nothing happens yet, but we'll get to that next. So now that we've got those set, we're going to want to create a function here. What did we name that? Compute daily. And then we have a compute monthly. Now these are our two functions that will be called. And again, we can test this with simple JavaScript. Sorry about the typos. Let's see if that works. Notice it doesn't do anything. Now the reason for that is we need to watch that for changes. So this is how we're going to do it. Put in scope, dot watch, and we want to watch funding daily count, and we want to watch that for changes. And when that changes, we're going to do compute daily. And we'll put another one here. With our funding month count, compute monthly. Compute daily, compute monthly. And as you can see, every time we change it, it is called. And the watch on this one is not working, so we'll see why. Suspect it may be that I didn't type it in there correctly. I was correct and wrong at the same time. So there we go. There's our compute daily, compute monthly. So every time this changes, compute monthly is called. Every time this one changes, compute daily is called. So we can remove those alerts out of there. It's one of the neat things here is you can drop in a console log or an alert to kind of step your way through the code, see where you're at, and see how things are functioning. Now that we know that these are working properly, what we're going to do is drop in our calculation. So scope, funding, and we call this daily after tax. And what this is going to do is we're going to do a scope, funding, daily count, and that's from up here. Multiply that by 28, which is the amount of days in the month for February. That's something that I could make dynamic also, but for the time being, we'll drop that in there for February. And then we want to divide that by 1.33 for an average tax rate. And let's just see if this one works. And it appears to work. If we've made, say, $10 a day, if we keep up that rate, we expect to make $210.52 after taxes. So let's go ahead and do the same thing for compute monthly. And this one will be a little bit different. Now I'm taking this monthly after tax from up here. And what we're going to assign that is actually we're going to 28 times the month count that we have right now. And the month count is up here, so that's the amount we've made this month. I should explain this a little better. This is 28 for the days in the month times the amount we've made this month so far, and then we're going to divide that by date. And then we'll divide that additionally by 1.33. So essentially what this is doing here is it's taking the amount we've made this month. Let's say we've made $50 this month, and it's been 5 days. We're going to divide that 50 by the 5 days, and then we're going to multiply that number by the amount of days it's been in the month. So it kind of comes up with an average. Okay, let's say I've made $333 this month. So far, based on that, I expect to make $1168.42. So let's clean this up a little bit. Notice this doesn't exactly look like currency. While it may be an accurate value, we would want something that's rounded down a little bit and maybe looks a little prettier. Luckily, Angular has a solution for that as well. So currency. So we want to format this as currency, and we'll put some labels in there. Let's see what that looks like. Now you can see it's formatted a little bit better for currency. So to understand what we're doing here, let's say again today I've made $17. I can just punch it in there, and I can say, okay, if I keep this rate up, I'll make $357.89 at the end of the month after taxes have been pulled out. But let's say it's this month, and it's the 6th, and we've already made $1,200. Well, if we keep up this pace at this rate, at the end of the month, we'll have $4,210, which is far beyond what I make on my blog, but hopefully some of you out there see those kind of numbers. And you could just play with this all day long, but if you notice, if you put something in there like this, it just simply won't run it. They do have to be numeric values. And there we have it. It's that simple. It's the full Angular application here. It could use some polishing for sure, some things fixed up, but all in all, for this amount of code, it's very clean, very simple, and works very well. Some people would probably say you can do this in JavaScript, and you could just as easily do this in JavaScript. In fact, a lot of what we've done here is vanilla JavaScript, but the advantage that we're using Angular gives us a little bit of advantage in scalability. If this just blows up into a large app, it'll be a lot better to start out with Angular and use the Angular framework to scale this out. And for testability, we can test this. We can build unit tests. I'll cover that in a future video. So it's more testable, scalable, and just a little bit cleaner for putting together. And that's why we're not using vanilla JavaScript here, but we're using Angular instead. So I hope this kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of how Angular works and kind of gets you excited to start learning it. And I'll post some more videos, especially as I learn more about it. I'll be posting this up here and doing some different demos and stuff. And yeah, thank you for watching. Follow me on Twitter or check out my blog at jeremymorgan.com for more tutorials, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Thank you.